This video was released on the 8th of August, 2024. Please understand there is much more evidence that has not yet been released to the public. It's an ongoing investigation. The Secret Service and the feds basically have the jurisdiction, and they can pretty much dictate what they're going to release and when. So in this video is a Butler Township police officer, and he says several things that are very interesting and also very concerning. One thing that he is going to say is that there is a person in custody. Detained and in custody are two different things. Being in custody is consistent with what, if you saw the video of a Secret Service supervisor and an officer that was on the roof over, this was before they moved Crook's body. He was still on the roof. That actual video was released a couple weeks ago, and they were talking about a man who was detained, who was claiming to own Crook's bike. And so a man claiming to be the owner of the bike that Crooks was using makes him an accomplice. And so what they don't reveal is the fact that his name, who he was. The guy probably did not know that the agents and the law enforcement had taken pictures of him, had watched him, saw him using a rangefinder, and saw him leave and come back on a bike with a backpack, and that they had actually called for backup at that time, as reports say. So a guy coming up and claiming to own a bike, and the Secret Service saying, no, that bike is not his bike, it belongs to this guy right here, meaning the dead guy on the roof. Another thing that he says in this video, which I'm going to let you listen to, is that, that he has him in custody. There's somebody in custody. Then they're talking about another shooter that is active on the building, and this is after they confirmed that Crooks was dead. And so he is saying that there's an active shooter on the roof, and basically that there is another shooter. This is consistent with Dave Stewart, who said that he heard communications when they went into the building, this very building, that they had no idea who was in there, and said there was blood found in the bathroom. After Dave Stewart released his video, I believe to be the 28th or 29th of July, within hours, Senator Blassie had inquired of the Secret Service and the feds their, preliminary report. And what he got back were various things: text messages, videos, and pictures. The pictures that was released were showing that they were in fact in the windows. That in this video, this officer also says people were saying that there was a person in the window. And they're showing the sniper locations. And the sniper locations are in the very building that this cop is saying that none of them. There were 3 different counties that had snipers. And so this officer is saying that they're having to go into the building, and it shows them the Secret Service agent in the suit who came over and got the ID of Dave Stewart, who was over by the tree, and they go in the building because they don't know who's in it. So when the Blassie report showed the pictures of the sniper locations, they were in fact in the very building that they had no idea who was in there. So it seems more like the pictures were like a cover-up. They were set up in a room that was well lighted. That's not what was shown. But just the fact that they're saying, okay, we know that there's a circulated video showing that people were claiming to see somebody in the window, and then there was a flashlight inside that window. And so they released pictures showing snipers in that window. It would be reasonable for snipers to be located in the windows, both bottom and top, just so that, they could basically deal with those people they were on this private property at the fence, in case anybody whips out a gun or whatnot. But in this particular video, this officer has no idea. None of them knew who was inside that building. And then, of course, they're hiding the fact that it was heard, according to Dave Stewart, in communications about blood in the bathroom, and talking about a second shooter. And what Dave Stewart said is consistent with what this officer says in this video, and I'm getting ready to play it for you. So, I'm going to put the link in the description to this video. You will listen and you will hear this officer say, after he confirms that Crooks is dead, he's talking to dispatch. He's got kids, by the way, in the rally. Okay, he's making sure that they're getting out of there. And he's calling in and asking for people to make sure, he's calling it in repeatedly that there's an active shooter on the roof, guys. That there's an active shooter on the roof. Now, a lot of people have made comments about the locations of different objects that was on the roof that was far away from the shooter's body. But at any rate, he's saying that repeatedly that there's an active shooter. And this is after Crooks is identified as dead. So I'm going to play this for you. This is talking about the guy that there's one in custody. Not detained or just somebody set aside being questioned, in custody. We, to this day, do not have any knowledge of who the Secret Service and officer was talking about on the roof that claimed to own Crooks' bike. But he's definitely an accomplice. So, he has one in custody, trying to confirm his ID. There were several people actually detained. They were just, talking to him, But the guy who claimed to own Crooks' bike, we don't know who that is to this day. But there's definitely an accomplice involved. Now, I'm going to play where he talks about and calls it in that there's an active shooter. And this is after Crooks is declared as dead. He'll say, one shooter down. Listen. Okay, so this is him on the phone, and this is after, okay, just listen. Look at that. Windows open. There were actually several windows open. And yes, there was somebody in the window. Listen.
One side of the building.
Hey.
So I missed your call.
I need you home. I need you to find the boys in Dog. We have an active shooter, a guy shooting from the top of AGR. Cooper got separated. I don't know where everybody else is at. I'm not kidding. We had an active shooter on the roof of AGR with a long gun.
I'm not at home. I'm on Holyoke Road. I'm coming home now.
Take it safe. He's down. One actor's down.
So he's talking about two different people. One is down, another one's active. Okay? Now, the guy who claimed to own Crooks' bike, I don't know if he was somebody that was, like doing the shooting part, but he was definitely somebody involved because he's claiming to own Crooks' bike. There was a bike, so there was a van parked a couple blocks away. This guy, he is seen on the premises looking through a rangefinder. They had already had him on alert because he had come through and actually been vetted and spotted with the rangefinder. So they lose track of him, but then they see him, and he's also going through his phone, like he's communicating with somebody. So they're communicating about this guy, right? He leaves, and then he comes back. Now, if you remember, on July 14th, Fox reported that he drove and left his vehicle parked near the rally with explosives in it. Then, later, they reported that he drove a bike to the rally. And they don't explain why. They're saying in one report that he's driving, and another report that he's riding a bike. Because obviously, he's riding a van with a bike. So at some portion, he left and he came back and he had a backpack. And he was on the roof with the backpack, yet there was another backpack on that bike. So they have pictures of the bike afterwards. Okay, so they had pictures of him with the bike, so they knew that it was his bike. And then even afterwards, okay, there was a report about the haunting reminder of this bike left at the rally. I mean, it was just weird. Like, they wouldn't have seized the bike. I mean, the report made nothing. It was just really suspicious. The whole report about the bike was like, why would they have left his bike at the rally and not seized it? Because that was evidence, right? And so, but the conversation of the Secret Service officer, the agent, and the other person's body cam, and they were talking about the guy who's detained, who's claiming to own Crook's bike. So yes, there was more than one person involved. And anybody that says that there wasn't is just got an agenda. All these people trying to hide stuff. Listen, the truth's going to come out. I mean, more and more is being revealed. And the video that Dave Stewart took, they took his phone. Okay? That's okay, because he's got reserved those videos. He said the video was altered when he got it back from the FBI. Now, who altered it? It could have been the trooper that took it. Why would the trooper take that phone when really that belongs to the feds? But whatever. The trooper had the phone first, took it from Dave, who had the video of the flashlight that was in that window. Not only was there flashlight being engaged in that window, and there was like curtains being removed around in the windows, different windows. Also seen in that video appeared to be something flying from the direction of the water tower. And I like slowed it down, and it's hard to tell what it is. It could have been a drone. It looked too big to be like a bullet or something. It looked like it was a drone. So it didn't look like a bird, but something definitely way too fast to be a bird that flew by really quick. And so, at any rate, that was very close to when the shooting happened, and I do not believe it was not Crooks operating that drone, because he is seen laying on top of the roof pointing his rifle. So there's no way that it could have been him flying that drone, if that was a drone that you see in that video that was coming from the direction of the water tower. But anyways, there's definitely more than one person involved, just based on what the Secret Service agent said about somebody claiming to own Crook's bike, and then this guy's comments. Now listen to this. This is what is the most interesting thing that this cop says that I find to be very, very problematic. Now, what he says, I think, is the most telling thing of all things. Listen closely.
I understand, Sergeant. I have the park coming down to cover some of your roads out of town as well.
I'm being told that the shooter may be affiliated with AGR.
Okay. They have not identified this man. It said in reports days after the shooting how they identified him and when they identified him. At this point, they don't even know who he is. Yet they're saying he's being told that he's associated with AGR, this building. Now, also being said and reported multiple times in this video is they're closing down roads. Like, all the roads leading out of town. Now, why would they do that? If the only shooter involved is dead up on that roof. I'm going to play it again. He says this actually multiple times.
There's multiple buildings here.
Through this.
I understand, Sergeant. I have the park coming down to cover some of your roads out of town as well.
Roads out of town as well. Covering the roads leading out of town. Why would they need to do that if the only person involved is dead on the roof? So repeatedly, they're saying that there's an active shooter on the roof. One is down. Okay? Then you have Dave Stewart, the only witness that we know of who overheard conversations of these officers' radio communications stating that there was a second shooter and blood in this building. And why is it that they're releasing a report of sniper rifles with flashlight attachments on them in these windows when these guys had no idea who was in that building. It's almost like a cover-up. Because it was released that there was somebody in that window. Witnesses saw people. People saw somebody in that window. And there was a flashlight engaged. There absolutely was. So they released pictures as if it was their people. But it should have been somebody in those rooms in that building. Absolutely should have been. You know, because of all those people. There was a lot of people right there by that fence. And there shouldn't have been people there because it was private property. So, anyways, I just wanted to share this video because I see a lot of comments online and people aren't buying it. And then you have a lot of lefty channels that are, you know, pushed by YouTube and they're for profit, okay? And they're profiteers and they are trying to cover up the fact that there was other people involved, and they're trying to disparage people who are having these conversations about other people involved. And, you know, I don't know, I think they're just hurting their own selves because there's evidence out there, like the Secret Service agent talking about a guy claiming to own Crook's bike. And this cop, bless his heart, who's got kids at this rally, okay, and it's just interesting, though, that this cop is not thinking to himself, like, wait a minute, we don't even know who this guy is. How can they know who he's associated with? So there's other details that we don't know yet. People need to understand that this is an ongoing investigation and the feds have control of the information. So just beware if you look at channels who claim, and they're trying to claim they're debunking stuff, look at who they are. Beware of left-leaning channels. This is what I'm saying. But do you hear this voice of this man saying that somebody was claiming, before they even have him identified who he is, of who he's associated with? Don't you think that's a bit problematic? Why are they closing down roads? Why are they saying there's active shooter? One down, still active shooter? Just saying.